On a remote place called Plymouth Island, a man named Captain Dill takes his boat, the Serenity, out every day with one goal: to catch a massive tuna he's named Justice. One morning, a group of tourists tries to help when the fish bites, but Dill scares them off by pulling out a knife. Furious, they refuse to pay and walk away. After hours of effort, Justice escapes again. From ashore, a man in a suit named Reed wades into the water, trying to reach Dill, but Dill doesn't notice. With no income, Duke worries they'll go broke, but Dill claims he has a plan. He visits his friend Constance, spends time with her, and borrows the money he needs. He also asks about her son and hints that Duke might soon be replaced. Later, Dill stops at Jack's bar, has a drink, then pays Duke for the day. He tells him to come early tomorrow, not for tourists, but to hunt for Justice again. Duke says they don't have enough fuel or cash, but Dill ignores him. He saw the fish today, so it must be close. That night, Dill sits alone, drinks, and talks to the memory of his son, Patrick, apologizing for failing to catch the fish again. He recalls their fishing trips together. At the same time, Patrick, at his mother's home, finds old photos of his dad and remembers those days. The next morning, Dill heads to the dock without noticing Reed watching from a bus. He and Duke search for hours, but Justice never appears. Frustrated, Dill blames Duke, saying his luck has been bad ever since his wife passed away, then fires him. Constance witnesses this from her window, but doesn't step in. That evening, Jack suggests Dill see a therapist, but he refuses. Their chat ends when Karen, Dill's ex-wife, arrives. She hasn't seen him in years, calls him John, and asks to talk privately. On his boat, she tells him he was right. Her new husband, Frank, is a violent drunk who hurts both her and Patrick. Dill tells her to leave, but she insists Frank has too much influence to escape. Patrick hides in his room, playing computer games whenever his parents fight. His teachers say he's gifted, but inside, he's deeply unhappy. Karen says she's here to protect him. Frank will be visiting the island soon, and she wants Dill to take them out on a boat trip, then get Frank drunk and throw him overboard to the sharks. She offers $10 million for it. Dill is stunned, refuses, and throws her off the boat. He sails away, missing Reed once again as he runs along the shore. The next day, Dill catches a good haul of fish and sells them. Constance asks about Karen, but he says nothing and goes for a swim. Underwater, he hears Frank's angry voice and Patrick telling him there's something important he must do. He even sees Patrick swimming toward him, but when he reaches out, Dill wakes up at his table, the wood wet beneath his arms. At the same time, Patrick wakes from gaming to see water spilled on his desk. Dill begins to wonder if his son is somehow reaching out to him. That same day, Frank arrives on the island. At the hotel, he orders Karen to remove her robe so he can inspect her. Seeing a scratch on her leg, he takes off his belt to punish her. Meanwhile, Dill visits Lois's fishing shop to settle his debt and buy new hooks. Lois says everyone knows Frank is abusing Karen. It's not just gossip. She also mentions that a man named Reed is searching for him. Dill brushes it off and leaves. At the dock, he finds Frank and Karen waiting. Karen calls him Mr. Dill, so Frank doesn't learn his real name. Frank complains that Dill refuses to take him fishing. Dill says it's against the rules to take tourists without a helper. Acting arrogant, Frank insists everyone has a price, flashes a gun, and says he'll be at the dock tomorrow at 7. Dill ignores him and takes the Serenity out once more in search of Justice. Again, Reed arrives too late. Checking his watch, Reed notices something strange, a 20-second gap in his schedule that shouldn't exist. Out at sea, Dill fails to find Justice but catches enough fish to sell. That night, he's with Constance again. She pushes him to answer the question he's avoiding. Will he help Karen, or keep chasing the fish that's trapped in his mind? At the market, Duke finds Dill and tells him some news. Frank is offering $10,000 for a fishing trip. Duke insists they can't say no. He needs money for his grandson. The boat is falling apart, and he knows from Constance that Dill only fired him out of pity. Duke hates that. Dill finally agrees, but only if Duke swears to keep an eye on him and stop him from doing anything reckless. The next morning, Frank and Karen are already waiting at the dock. Dill pulls Karen aside, making it clear he'll take Frank fishing, but that's all. Karen tries to push him, reminding him how badly Frank has hurt Patrick. Then she says something odd. She knows Dill speaks to Patrick, and Patrick hears him through his computer. Dill brushes it off as nonsense, and they set out. At sea, Frank chats a bit, then starts talking about Patrick. He calls him strange for never going outside and always staying on his computer. Once, Frank thought the boy was into something illegal online, but it turned out to be a fishing game. He recalls Patrick once saying that if a day passed without catching a fish, he'd kill him. To Frank's surprise, Dill finishes that sentence with him, word for word. They briefly talk about how the island has no police before a shark takes the bait. Frank grabs the rod but slips, almost falling overboard. For a split second, Dill thinks about letting him go, but instead, he helps Duke pull the shark in. When they return, Karen's face falls at the sight of Frank still alive. While Frank cleans up, she tells Dill that Frank wants another trip tomorrow, and that it was Patrick's idea for Dill to kill him. Duke overhears, but keeps quiet. A storm begins rolling in as Frank returns and drags Karen away. From a distance, Reed watches, while Duke asks Dill what's going on. Over drinks at a bar, Dill explains that he used to be a soldier named John. After the war, his mind never fully recovered, and Karen left him for Frank. He says he never really came back after that. When Duke hears about Karen's $10 million offer, he warns Dill that his real battle is in his head, chasing the fish, not killing a man. After Duke leaves, Dill walks toward his boat in the rain. He hears Patrick's voice calling his name over and over. Constance sees him from her window. Then Karen appears, saying she still has the ring he once gave her, proof she's never stopped thinking about him. She kisses him, and Dill finally agrees to kill Frank, but only if she brings Patrick to him. She promises she will, telling him she's still the same woman he loved. They end up together on the boat, where Dill notices the scars on her back for Frank's abuse. Karen says they're both damaged in their own ways. When it's over, Dill coldly tells her to leave, saying he's already beaten Frank. That night, Dill speaks to Patrick as if his son can truly hear him, promising he'll do it so Patrick can feel safe enough to go outside again. When Dill gets home, Reed is waiting. He introduces himself as a fishing gear salesman. Dill doesn't get why he's there at 2:30 in the morning. Reed says he's tried all day to find him, but kept missing him. Reed then hints he knows about Dill's plans for tomorrow. He knows almost everything about him. From his suitcase, he takes out a high-tech sonic fish finder and offers a free week's trial. He says it's perfect for tomorrow because Dill is the rules. Puzzled, Dill asks what that means. Reed says he wants Dill to catch the fish, but not kill anyone. That's when Dill pulls a knife and demands answers. Meanwhile, Patrick is still at his computer. Reed tells Dill he's just playing his assigned role in what Plymouth Island truly is, a game with countless possible actions created by someone who loves fishing. The main rule is to catch one special fish, which is why Dill is so driven to find justice. But something's different now. Dill seems ready to twist that rule into murder. Reed says the game was designed so no one could die on the island, so he's here to figure out why the creator changed it. Suddenly, Dill wakes in bed before his alarm, but finds he can't move until it rings. Thinking about Reed's words, he studies maps and realizes they all show the same thing. Plymouth Island is surrounded by nothing. After a swim, Dill drives to a quiet spot and speaks to Patrick again, telling him he will kill Frank. He admits he doesn't remember how he got here, only the fishing trips they shared. Dill often thinks back to his days after the war, angry, broken, and lost. He's convinced that Patrick brought him to this place for one reason, to catch the fish. Sometimes disturbing visions hit him. He sees himself lying lifeless on the shore, but he doesn't know why. One day, Samson, Constance's son, stops by. Dill tells him he's a lucky kid, but refuses to offer him Duke's old job, saying the rules have changed. Later, Dill visits Lois, who shows him some special fishing lures left behind by Reed as part of the trial gear. Dill starts asking her odd, almost philosophical questions, but she has no idea how to answer. Using Reed's business card, Dill calls his company to check if he's real, but only leaves a short thank you before hanging up. On his way to the docks, he meets Jack and asks him the same strange questions. Jack can't answer either. That's when Dill realizes the truth. They're not real people at all, just background characters in a game. Meanwhile, in the real world, Patrick opens a box and pulls out his father's knife. At the hotel, Karen wakes up to find Frank in the bathroom with bloody hands. Someone has injured him. The attacker is already waiting on Dill's boat. It's Duke. He admits he paid someone to break Frank's hands so Dill wouldn't be tempted to kill him. Furious, Dill throws Duke off the boat, ignoring his warning to get checked by a doctor. Dill runs into Reed again. Reed tells him he's not losing his mind. They're made from the stuff dreams are made of. The only thing Reed doesn't know is who created the game. Dill does. It was Patrick. His son designed it to bring him back and help stop the man hurting him. Karen, meanwhile, is working on her own plan. She tends to Frank's wounds, convinces him he's still strong enough to fish, and keeps pouring drinks until he's drunk. Reed spots this and tells Dill that if the game's new rule is to kill Frank, maybe he should follow it. Dill rushes to his boat, where Karen tells him she's hidden Frank's gun. Constance and Duke watch from a distance. Once on board, Dill finds Samson stowing away, which means they can't simply push Frank overboard with a kid present. Then fate intervenes. Justice takes the bait. Dill remembers his choice: chase the fish or deal with Frank. He hands the rod to Frank, who's too weak to hold on. The line jerks, and Frank is pulled into the ocean, looking like it was an accident. At the same time, in the real world, Patrick hears Frank shouting at Karen. He takes his father's knife, leaves his room, and returns with blood on his hands. The news spreads quickly. Patrick has killed Frank, and Karen tells reporters it was self-defense after years of abuse. They also reveal that Patrick's real father died in the war. Since then, Patrick hasn't spoken to anyone and has kept to himself. Back on the island, Karen tells Dill that she and Patrick still love him, and one day they'll be together again. After she leaves, a nearby payphone rings. Dill answers. It's Patrick. He says he's going to change the game so they can be together. In his prison cell, Patrick smiles. Around Dill, the island begins to shift, and suddenly Patrick is standing right there with him. Father and son climb aboard the Serenity, heading out to sea, ready to fish side by side once more.
Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.